everybody, going to bring you along today and show you how I grafted some fruit trees and how I had a 100% success rate. Show you the best types of grafts to use. Maybe it'll encourage you to get out and do some on your own. At the pear tree. This is an old pear tree that was on our property when we moved here, and we moved here 20 years ago, and this tree was here, and it was a big tree then. It might be 40 or 50 years old. It's a big tree, as you can see. It needs to be trimmed. It's not trimmed for maximum fruit production, but we do still get a good number of pears off of it every year. And it's an old southern type pear. I don't know what variety it is. It might be a Bartlett or some other common southern type. I feel like maybe somebody possibly that sees this could identify it. I'm not able to. But I'm going to show you where I grafted onto it last year and had a high number of success. I think all the grafts, most every one of the grafts that I placed on this tree took. And so this is just kind of a follow-up of a successful grafting attempt, and I just thought you might like to see it. I'm gonna walk in here under the tree. And you can see this tree is it's loaded. I mean, it's got a high number of fruit on it. Now I didn't graft to change the variety of this tree. I just took some of these lower limbs that I'm going to show you and flagged them, put flagging tape around them, and added some different varieties on. I added 4 varieties, and the marker that I use has mostly wore off with the sun over time. But I grafted a Seckel pear, Comise pear, Hosui pear, and one more Japanese pear. Grafted 2 European varieties and 2 Japanese varieties to this what I'm assuming is a European variety rootstock. So I didn't have any problems with the Japanese varieties grafting onto the European variety. They all took. So if anybody tries to tell you, well, you can't graft a Japanese to a European, that I don't even know if that's, I didn't even look and research it if you can or not. I just tried it, and I had success with it. So let me get in here and show you some of it. Here's the first one. Let's see. Okay, if you can see. Now it's kind of dark under this canopy. Let me try to pull this down. As you can see there, right where my 3rd finger is, that was a wedge graft that took. Try to pull some of this foliage back so you can see. Okay, that was a wedge graft that took, and the variety is gone. Here's another one. So there's my black tape around it there. That was another wedge graft. As you can see, what I'm holding is the new variety. Here's my flag. Here's another one. Let's see. This looks like That looks like I did a bud graft on that one. I know I did some bud grafts and some wedge grafts. This was a bud graft that took. The variety's gone on that one. Let me see, here's another one. There's my old rubber band and tape. That was another bud graft. Came out just fine. Got some more. Let me see. Got one right here. You can see there's the tape. And that was a wedge graft. You can see the wedge right there. And got some new growth. I can still see the variety on this. This is a Seckel. Seckel pear, supposed to be a real good pear. I've got these Seckel, Camise, Hosui. I've got those trees as you saw. I want to show you my pear trees that I got my cuttings off of, just so you know. This is my Camise, Seckel, Chojuro, it's an Asian pear, and Hosui right there. But I've got them in a close planting for a backyard style orchard. All I did last year was come in here in the winter time and I took some new growth like this off of each tree, and I'd say I would snip this off there. Have 3 or 4 buds on it. You can see where the leaves are coming out, and I'll put that in the refrigerator until I was ready. You want to take your cuttings in the winter time when everything's dormant, and then you want to apply the cuttings when spring comes, when the sap starts flowing, the bark loosens up. That's when you want to apply your cuttings. So I took some new growth off of those last winter and put them in my refrigerator. And when spring came around, I came out and I did me some grafts. I did a few more that I think the markers are gone on them. Here's one right here. Okay, that's where I marked it. And you follow the branch down, the graft should have been right here, so I don't know, this one must have failed. I don't see anything on it. I see where the limb was cut up. So maybe I had a graft there, and I don't know if something knocked it off or it's real low hanging. It's about knee high, waist high. I've got a horse in here that could have took it out. Well, I feel like I've got 1 or 2 more. Not seeing them though. But, you know, people ask me about grafting, and nobody knows how to do it until they do it. You know what I mean? There's always that first time, and you can watch somebody do it as much as you want, but until you actually get out there and do it yourself, you're not going to have the feel for it. And it's easy. It's not hard at all. This was a successful attempt. They're not all successful. You won't have success every time, but if you watch and try to learn and see the process, you will. I really feel like you'll have more success rate than failure. I'm just trying to show you some of this tree. To me, it kind of looks like it was a grafted tree, and right here is the rootstock that grew up. In fact, I know it's grafted because you can see that stump up there, that flat spot, that stump where I cut it. I cut it 2 years ago, tried to trim some of this that was dead. And you can see down here where I cut this one, and it's got those 3 smaller growths growing out of the top of it. That was the rootstock. And I say that because, and I can show you right here. See this thorn? Let me peel this back. Okay. Look at that thorn right there. That's what's growing out of this rootstock. There's no thorns on this tree. That's simply coming from the rootstock. So, like I said, I think this tree, I know it's over 25 years old. I feel like it's closer to 40 or 50. But it was a grafted tree. The rootstock is coming up. I need to get back in here and trim that, because that is definitely rootstock. It's got thorns all over it, big thorns. No fruit. And this rootstock was 20 feet tall when I came in here and cut it. I mean, it went way up into the top of the tree, and it had no fruit on it. So I don't know what kind of rootstock it was. Something for a pear. But this is this was the the name variety, the original tree that was planted. I don't know if anybody can identify this. These are the pears. Of course, they're still small. But I'll try to get some ripe ones when they mature. If anybody thinks they can identify it, I would like to know your opinion. But I hope this inspires you to get out and try grafting. It's fun. It's fun to create something, out of nothing, and see how nature works. So I hope you find the time to get out and try something new. While you're here this far, if you haven't subscribed, I want to ask you, would you please consider doing so? That really supports me and helps me out. And while you're down there, click thumbs up.